In this mini workshop, I'm going to share with you what's getting in your way and what you can do to break through, and then a possible solution. So let's dive right in. So I want to share with you three things, and the point of this presentation is to make sure that you align three things. And first, we're going to start with the heart, because the heart, contrary to what most people think, has neurons. We believe that we only have neurons in our brain, but we actually have them in our heart, and there's actually more neurons in our heart than there are in our brain. And we also have them in our gut. That's why we talk about gut feeling versus, a heart feeling or a head feeling. We have a gut feel. Why? Well, because we have neurons there, and those neurons are responding and communicating with our mind. So the first point I want to make here is that we need to figure out what's in our heart. And so I'm going to talk about the problem, the breakthrough, and the solutions in this presentation so that you can understand what's getting in your way and what you can do to fix it. So the first thing that you're running into is your beliefs. And beliefs are nothing but chronic patterns of thought. And everything I'm teaching you has been researched. It's based on brain science and psychology. So beliefs are nothing but chronic patterns of thought. So just work with me for a minute here and suspend disbelief. So if your chronic patterns of thought are creating your life, it's like you have a GPS right here on the top of your shoulders, and maybe you're programming it inaccurately. So you need to get better at doing that. So let's talk a little bit more about that. So if beliefs are chronic patterns of thought, then what's going to happen is thoughts are going to become your things, become your reality, whether you like it or not. And Wayne Dyer talked about that in his work while he was with us. So if our thoughts are creating our things and they're going to become our reality, then we should be really careful about what we're thinking about. Even Napoleon Hill, if you've read Think and Grow Rich, he talked about that. He worded it as dominant thoughts, and our dominant thoughts are creating our things. So here's the thing. What you think and feel, you create, and you create what you believe. That's what's happening here. So what you're thinking and feeling is creating a belief, right? That's what's happening. So, and you will create what you believe. We all do. We all have beliefs. We have things that we strongly believe in and things that we kind of believe in. But the things that we strongly believe in, we will not let anything get in our way. Like, as an example, if I asked you, would you kill someone? You probably would say no. If you were standing here talking with me, you'd say never. I would never kill anybody. But then if I said, they're holding a gun to your mother or father's head, then would you potentially kill them or be aggressive with them? And, if you had the option to shoot them and kill them so that they didn't kill your parents, would you? And you might not like this idea or this metaphor, but the bottom line is it's determining what your non-negotiables are. So you do have beliefs that you won't kill, but in certain circumstances you might. But the key is that you have core beliefs that you won't kill, and you won't do harm to others, that maybe you won't lie, you won't cheat. Some people have really high standards, and the key here is that you need to know what your standards are so that you know what your beliefs are, and then you know what you can do in the world and what you can do best. So there's certain things that are roadblocks that are getting in your way. So let's talk about a way to break through that. So let's go into what the breakthrough is. So, and here's the thing, your brain has two parts. You have really, really powerhouse brain. You have something that's so powerful here that it can move mountains. You've heard that saying before, and let's prove that theory now. So, and let's talk about that. So two parts of the brain, you've probably heard of them, the conscious and the subconscious, right? These two parts of your brain, they are working together, except your conscious mind is like RAM memory in your computer versus the hard drive being the subconscious mind. So if you think about it, you would never run your computer on RAM memory because it's limited. You might have 16 gigabytes maximum on your computer, but you have maybe a terabyte or 2 terabytes or 3 terabytes in your hard drive. So you're using your hard drive because that's more reliable. You have more space, more capacity, more potential. So know this about your conscious and subconscious mind. The conscious mind is only producing 2 to 4% of the results in your life. Again, this is based on research. And your subconscious mind is producing the rest, 94 to 96% of your life. So it's controlling that much, yet it's kind of operating in the background. So let's talk about that for a moment. Your subconscious mind is like a cruise ship. Think about it like a big cruise ship, without a captain. So the ship is just moving forward. The engine room is doing their thing, keeping it going. But somehow the captain had an issue. He had a heart problem or something, and he passed out. And nobody knows, but they keep the ship going. So it's heading in a direction, but there's so much power, but there's no clear direction. It's just moving in a direction. And the problem is that, it has tons of power, but no direction. So if our subconscious mind is the most powerful part of our potentiality, and it's there and it's operating in the background, and it doesn't have direction, but we have to give it direction, then how do we give it direction? Well, guess what? We got to go through our conscious mind. Why? Because Carl Jung, the famous psychologist, taught us that until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. So until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. So you don't want your life to be some undirected scenario, right? I mean, if you think about it, if you've ever watched a bad movie, you know that the director and the producer and whatever's going on in the background is horrible. Or let's say you went to a live event and what's going on, what you have backstage isn't nearly good enough so that what's going on stage can be even better. So you need really strong backstage so that you can be strong on stage. And that's why you need to have your conscious mind dialed in, focused on what you want, because those beliefs, those patterns of thought are creating beliefs, and they are controlling and directing your life. So we are now in the head part here, right? We talked about the heart. Now we're talking about the head. And then the third piece we're going to talk about is going to be phenomenal. But for now, just know that you are in control of your life if you get control of your unconscious mind, your subconscious mind. So the problem here is that, and the way to break through is that you need to have dominant thoughts. Like I said earlier, Napoleon Hill taught us that if we get our dominant thoughts moving in the direction that we want to go in, then they're going to take us exactly where we think we should be. And he did this by talking to himself in the mirror. Not everybody is willing to do that. He had to talk to himself in the mirror and convince himself that he had the potential to go out and interview people like Andrew Carnegie and Lincoln and all these great leaders. Leaders and teachers. These were people that were really big at his time, and he had to develop the courage and the confidence to go out there and interview them. And then he put that into his book, Think and Grow Rich. But he had to convince himself by talking to himself in the mirror. And so he had to keep reminding himself and convincing himself that he had this capability and this potential. So as I'm going through this here, you're seeing that we have a lot of potential. So first of all, we talked about the problem being chronic patterns of thought, and that your thoughts become your reality whether you like it or not. And you're going to create what you think and feel. So now you're understanding that, and now we know where that's coming from. It's coming from your conscious and unconscious mind. Your subconscious mind is the part of your mind that's running the show. Yet you got to go through your thoughts to direct it. And we're not very good at managing them. We have little bosses in our head that are controlling them. And those little bosses were developed when we were young, from 0 to 7 years old. So, you see how this is developing? Our habits, beliefs, practices, everything that we're doing now were established from 0 to 7 years old. And you couldn't say no. You didn't know what was right or wrong. So you just agreed with it. And you just said, that's fine. As an example, I would never arbitrarily go for an operation if I didn't have to. Yet, when I was a child, I had 2 operations. One of them was for tonsils. I didn't get to choose that. They were decided for me. Today, tonsils don't need to be removed. So mine were. That was a decision that was made for me. So let's move and talk about the solution. So once again, we are talking about the 3 parts here that I talked about in the beginning: the head and the heart. And now we have the hands. And by the way, believe it or not, your hands are connected, an extension of your heart. So if you do things with your hands, it's usually something that you believe in and it comes from your heart. So just trust me on this. And let's keep moving. So let's talk about the solution here. So again, we're talking about the unconscious and conscious mind, and we're going to talk about how you can focus your mind. Because if you can focus it, then you can get what you want. And you need to focus your mind in order to move in a certain direction. And we know this. Like when there's an emergency, you can focus your mind. You know, when somebody's sick or somebody's hurt, you get focused and you find a solution and you find a way to solve this problem. It doesn't matter what it is. You know, if I went into the ditch when I was younger with my mother in the car and we just slid into the ditch, there was no damage, no nothing, but we needed to get out and get going to our next appointment or next destination. And what happened was, because of that desire and that need, within a few minutes, a car pulled up and it turned out that it was a Jeep and he had a winch on the front and he just pulled us out. So within 5 to 10 minutes, we were back on the road and back to our destination. And it was because we really wanted to get there, and it was something that was a necessity. So so the problem here is you need to focus, right? So right now, what's the most important thing? It's September 2022. So what's the most important thing right now as you're watching this video? If there are 3 things that are really important, you know, for me, the things that are most important is that I establish a group of 6 to 12 people that I can support and I can help them take through a program so that they can achieve their goals. And I'm using a specific system. So that's one of my greatest goals. And I have other goals, two other things that I really want to accomplish that's going to systemize and organize my life, my business, and my family. So, you know, what are those things for you? So think about that and focus your attention on that. So what's the most important thing for you right now? You know, what can you give your attention to? Because your attention is being wasted. That's the problem here. You know, 80% of your attention is going to the wrong thing. You're being distracted. So you need to focus your attention, and you need to put 80% of your attention on the results that are going to give you the 20% of satisfaction. It's the 80-20 rule. So think about that. If you were able to cut off all distractions and give 80% of your time and attention, your focus towards what you want, and ignore everything else, it means you have to learn to say no really well. And I suggest actually you say no to everything first. First, even silently in your mind, just say no. I'm not doing this. I'm not going to participate, or no, I can't do this extra thing, or whatever it is. Or somebody invites you to do something, and you just say no in your head, and then let them justify and whatever it may be. Or sometimes you say it out loud. But say no first, and then see if it's a fit. That's a better way. If it's a fit with your goals, if it doesn't align with your goals, then don't even bother doing it. That's what you have to do. So you need to get your mind focused, and you need to have 80% of your efforts that will produce 80. The 80-20 rule will produce 20% of results. And you need a system for disciplining your actions and keeping focused. Unfortunately, I've done a lot of research on this, and there's great systems out there. There's a 12-week year, and I created a focused productivity planner that helps you get this dialed in. In fact, it's a discipline device. And don't think of discipline as a bad thing. I mean, you're disciplining yourself so that you have more energy and you have more free will and more free attention. Those are the things that you want, right? So that's why you discipline yourself. It's not disciplining yourself so you have a mundane life. That's not the purpose. So you need a system for disciplining your focus, and so that you're productive, right? Because you don't have time. You have a limited amount of time and a limited amount of attention. You know, you have 86,400 seconds in a day, and most of it's wasted. You know, maybe 8 of it is used for sleeping, and there's a bunch of it used for hygiene and eating and all sorts of different things. So, it gets gobbled up pretty easily. So, you need a focused productivity system, and that's a critical factor here, because when you have that, then you can make progress and you step forward and you feel good. I know that if I tell you your objective is to feel good, you're going to say, I don't know about that. Does that mean I go and drink and eat all the food that I want, or drink alcohol and feel good? And, that's not what I'm talking about. The objective is for you to feel good on a daily basis and have a sense of pride, because pride is a motivator. And if you don't have it already, I would recommend that you create a list of things that you're proud about. I'll just share some of mine with you because I've taken the time to think about these things. And I'm going back to when I was a kid even. So, in grade 10, my teacher there, my math teacher, Mr. Hughes, he called me a genius in front of the whole class. And I remember it like it was today, but you know what? Nobody else spoke up and gave the answer that I did, and so he called me a genius. He said, "Did you hear that, everybody? Dan is a genius." And I remember that very clearly. So a sense of pride. Also, I received, and this is very surprising, I received awards in math and science in grade 10. I have these certificates, and I was not really an academic student, but I was receiving these awards back then, and I was pretty amazed. I'm also proud of the birth of my children. That's something that, is very memorable, especially the second one took 13 hours. But, so these are the things that you need to write down. What are you proud about? Because what you're proud of is a motivation. It's something that gives you a sense of well-being and power. And right now, as you're listening to this, you might be feeling some pain. There might be some things in your life that are painful and that are problematic, and you don't want to have those anymore. So to go from pain to power, you need to figure out what is going to motivate you and pull you forward and keep you satisfied and happy and making progress. One more thing I'll share with you, that I actually received a book when I was in grade 9, first year at high school, and I was published as a poet in a book called Sawdust and Pearls. And so at age 13, I was published, and I was being called to the office though. So I was a bit shocked, and I was wondering why, and I was apprehensive because I spent a lot of days in the office between the grades 1 and 8. And so I was delighted that I was just being given this book that I was published in. So once again, these are the issues that you're running into. These are the problems that you have, your chronic patterns of thought that are creating the things in your life, whether you like it or not. And then your brain has two parts, and you understand what these parts are. And now you need to get through to your deeper mind, your unconscious mind, your subconscious mind, and give it the right direction, because it's like a ship without a captain. And then you need a discipline device. You need something that's going to discipline you, keep you focused, and keep you moving forward. Otherwise, you get distracted, and then you're off track. So I hope this is helpful. And if you want the Focus Productivity Planner, you can just send me a message wherever you're seeing this. You might be seeing this on my website or my YouTube channel or whatever it is. But if you want this Focus Productivity Planner, find me, send me a direct message. I'll be happy to share that with you. And then you can also develop this practice of focusing your attention, keeping organized, and at the end, you will feel good. You'll feel good about the things that you're doing. At the end of your life, you'll even feel better. Why? Because you'll be looking back and remembering all the great things that you did. So if you want to have a better life and you want to get control over it, then you have to apply these principles. And I'm going to connect all these things as I wrap up here, but you need to connect your heart, your head with your hands. So your heart is where you feel things, and where things that matter to you, they reside in there, and your neurons there. And then they connect with your head, and you go and take action. You have emotions in there, and you take action based on what you're feeling in your heart. And then your hands are the things you do that you apply these things that you're thinking about in your mind. And so the critical factor here is that all these three things are working together. And if you don't have your heart, you're not motivated to do things. And if you don't have your head, which is your mindset, you're not going to do it. And if you don't have a system like the Focus Productivity Planner that I just mentioned to use your hands and create it and track things and measure your performance, then you're not going to get where you want to go. So Again, everything is based on brain science and psychology here. There's nothing that I'm bringing to your attention that hasn't been tested, and all you have to do is apply it. So as I said, if this is making sense to you, let me know. If you want the Focused Productivity Planner, just shoot me a quick message, and that way you'll live the kind of life that you want, and you won't have more weeks, days, and years where you're looking back and saying, this wasn't so good, and I could have done better. All right, so hopefully you liked this video. If you didn't, that's okay too. As always, thanks for watching. I'll see you on my next video. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye.